Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, text 21. Yad yad acharati shreshthas tat tat evetaro janaha sa yat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So I don't know if you all have the experience, we always trying to follow the leaders of our society, whatever examples we see, whoever we feel, oh, this person is so great, let me try to imbibe their values, let me try to learn what they are doing. That's the reason they are so successful. So Krishna is saying, yes, that's what happens. Whatever a great man performs, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. Lord Caitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called an acharya or the ideal teacher. But we can see nowadays, who are we learning from? Who have we put up on that pedestal, and who are the so-called great men right now, nowadays, that we are following? And what actions are they performing? And what standards are they setting? And then we are following that standards. Nowadays, people glorify eating meat, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. It's all that is glorified. And because the leaders of the society are doing that. And so then the common people, we say, oh, wow, this person is so good. Let me also follow. If he's doing it, why shouldn't I do it? Looks like a good thing to do. So we can see that practically how the current situation in Kali Yuga, the society is being led by leaders who are not fit to be leaders. Because a teacher should be one who should behave properly. A person in the position of a leader, a person in a position where people are following them, he should set the proper standards. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra, scripture, to teach the common man. The teacher cannot manufacture rules against the principles of revealed scriptures. But nowadays, what happens is, it's become the opposite. If we say, oh, this is mentioned in the Vedas, and then people come back and say, Vedas? How do you trust the Vedas? It's so old. How do you know it's not been misinterpreted? How do you know that it was really even true? Rather, follow the people nowadays. What they're saying, just enjoy your life and don't think about anything else. Why don't you do that? That's what's the current situation. Whereas a teacher is supposed to follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures, of the Shastra. The revealed scriptures like Manu Samhita and similar others are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on the principles of such standard Shastras. So we can see practically nobody knows what is Manu Samhita now. Everybody says, oh, the leaders of the society are just having a good time. They enjoy the senses as much as you can, do whatever you like. And that's the standard set right now. But we can see how far away it is from the true standard of what it should be. The true standard should be based on scriptures. That is what a human being is supposed to be following, followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on the principles of such standard Shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees And that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. So, but then what people say, oh, why shall I read the Bhagavatam? Who's going to do that? Why you want to waste your time? Rather, party and enjoy and be merry. But, and then why do you want to be morose? You know, people say, oh, by reading the scriptures, it's also depressing. It's all, don't do this, don't do that. And so that's not the way to lead life. But in fact, that is the proper way of leading human life, because that is the way to actually get happy. When we refrain from doing sinful activities, we will not get sinful reactions. And in fact, if we are doing pious activities, we are engaging in devotional service, we are going to get the positive results, and we will be happy with that. The king or executive head of a state, the father, and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with standard books of moral and spiritual codes. So here, the king or the executive head of state means right now we don't have kings, but we have the government, we have the ministers. The father also should be conversant with the moral and spiritual codes based on the Vedas, and also the school teacher. Why? Because we are always following these authorities. How they are telling us to act, we are following that, their actions. So they should be properly educated so that the innocent people can have a natural, blissful life. So it's so important. But we can see today's society, why is there so much unrest? Why there is no peace, no happiness, in spite that the standard of living is get so much more higher, you know, in the way of in the way of material things. But the peace and happiness is reduced more and more amongst the people. Why? Because we have forgotten that we should base our society on the teachings of the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Manu Samhita. So, any questions, comments? Or is it okay? Yes? Okay, so continuing to the next one, 22. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptam avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I'm engaged in prescribed duties. So Krishna, he's beyond. Krishna is not a human being. He appears in a human-like form, but that does not make him a human being. He's still God. He has nothing to do. He's not forced to take birth in a particular family, in a particular species, to particular parents. No, he chooses. He chooses when to come, where to come, which species to come. We can't choose. So we are different than Krishna. So for Krishna, there is no work binding on him. Yet when he comes, he performs his the prescribed duties. He performs them. Why? Because otherwise people will say, oh, Krishna came himself. He didn't follow the rules. So why should I? You know, when he was in Dwarka, he would wake up every morning, do his morning rituals. Then then he used to go to court, do his kingly duties, whatever was there. Then come back home. He was a very loving husband to his wives, very loving father to his children. So he was doing all his duties very perfectly. For why? Why was he doing that? So we can follow his example, so that we don't become artificially renunciates. You know, artificially renouncing, we just become a nuisance in society then. So purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the Vedic literatures as follows. Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram, Tam Devatanam Paramam Cha Daivatam, Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad, Vidama Devam Bhuvanesham Idyam, Na Tasya Karyam Karanam Cha Vidyate, Na Tat Samascha Chabhyadikas Cha Drishyate, Parasya Shaktir Vivideva Shruyate Swabhiviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. The Supreme Lord is the controller of all other controllers. And he's the greatest of all the diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. So we are always trying to control people. We want, oh, why are you acting in this way? Why did you go here? Why did you do that? Why do you like this? Why don't you like that? I like this, so you should like that. It can be right from eating to wearing or going anywhere, having a particular lifestyle, buying things. So we are always trying to control each other. But who is the real controller? Krishna. He's the controller of all other controllers. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He's also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. So where do we get our power to control from? Whatever little power we have. We like to control our parents or our children or our spouse or our employees or employers or whoever we can, we all like to control. And where are we getting that control from? It's coming from the Supreme Lord. Why? Because we know we don't have the ultimate power. We try to control things, but yet people don't want to listen totally to us. No matter how much we try to control, each individual is trying to control another, because each of us have different desires. So then that's how the clash of the ego happens. So he's also worshipable by all demigods, and he's the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. So all the demigods, they're parts and parcels of Krishna. They are not God. They are appointed by Krishna to manage the universal affairs. Lord Indra, Lord Chandra, Lord Surya, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Ganesh. There's so many. There are 33 crores of demigods. So they are not supreme. They are all appointed by Krishna. Like in a government, the prime minister or the president will be the supreme authority. And then under him, he has a whole team of different ministers. Minister of Education, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Electricity, Minister of Water Department. Similarly, Krishna has appointed all the demigods in these different positions. Not that he needs them. It's not that he can't do it by himself. He can. He's created the whole creation by himself. So this also he can. But because the demigods are devotees of Krishna, and they also have a desire to control. And so they have enough pious credit. They have enough of the capability to manage and control. So he's put them in these positions. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. So Krishna, he is the supreme controller. Nobody can control Krishna. Well, only a devotee can control Krishna. And that's the reason Krishna gives his love to somebody not very easily, because he comes under that devotee's control. Like we can see on the cover of Bhagavad Gita, he's a chariot driver of Arjuna. You know, he's driving, he became the driver of his devotee. So nobody can control Krishna, but only a devotee can control. So, and then Krishna, he's the supreme cause of all causes. He's the original, supreme, absolute truth. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. So we are always looking at Krishna and thinking, what's so great in him? It's the same thing like me, no? He has 2 hands, I have 2 hands, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, 2 legs. So what's so great about him? The thing is, right now, we are inside this body. There is a difference between us and our body. We are the soul and we have a body. We are different. But for Krishna, there is no difference between his body and soul. His body is Sat Chid Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. So our senses are not transcendental. Our senses are so imperfect. You know, we might hear 2 people speaking and it might be and we might come to some conclusion, which might be so far away from the truth. And later we find, oh my God, I was such a fool. Why? How come I thought of such a thing? Even though we are hearing, we hear imperfectly. When we are seeing, we get so mistaken, you know. So our senses are not perfect, but Krishna's senses are perfect. They're transcendental. And he can eat with his eyes. We can't. We have to eat with our mouth. Imagine if we put food inside our eyes. What would happen to us? You know, so we should not try to compete with Krishna. We need to give him the credit that is due to him. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6, 7 to 8. So Krishna's activities, his activities are carried out by his different energies. For example, there's his activity of creating this material world. It's by his different energies. He does not personally take the earth, put it on a big wheel, and then he's making the shape. No, simply by his will, everything is happening. And he has many such energies. And for our understanding, they're divided into 3. The internal potency, his spiritual energy. The external energy, which is this whole material creation, material world, and the marginal energy, which is us, the Jiva Tattva, the living entities. We are actually spiritual energy, but we are very tiny, very, very insignificant. Our size is 1/10,000, the tip of a hair. We think we have such a big body, so that's our size. But the size of the soul is 1/10,000, the tip of a hair. That is our size. So we are very easy to get attracted by this external energy of Krishna. So that's the reason we are called marginal. Sometimes we are under the influence of material energy, sometimes influence of internal energy. Since everything is in full opulence in the personality of Godhead and is existing in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the 3 planetary systems certainly has no duty. And yet, Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the Kshatriyas, because the Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all the regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. So Krishna, although he's there on the battlefield, he's the king. So he's making sure that he wants this battle to happen. Why? Because he wants the world to be ruled by devotees. He wants to show that if you act irreligiously against the religious principles, then you will be vanquished, as all the Kauravas were vanquished. And he has nothing to do because he has no karmic reaction. He's not forced to do anything. It's not that, oh, he has some past karma, so he has to take birth here or there. No, he has no karma. He's the one who makes the law of karma. He's beyond karma. And although he is not bound by any regulations, he acts in a perfect manner that does not violate anything against the revealed scriptures. I don't know if you all have heard, with great power comes great responsibility. So Krishna, like that, is very responsible. He has total, complete power. He could manipulate, he could exploit, but he never does that. No. Why? Because he just loves everyone. He loves each and every one of us. We are all his parts and parcels. Is we have forgotten him. We think we are separate from him. We think we need to be away from him. So we can see that he acts in a perfect manner, and yet we deride him because he comes in a human form. Any questions or comments? Anything to add? No? Then we'll read on. Text 23. Yadi hi aham na varteyam jatu karmani atandritaha mama varta manu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, their traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. So, to have proper law and order in society, that the society is peaceful, that there is law, we have to follow the laws. When we don't follow the government laws, what does the government do? They'll put us in prison. That's why the prison houses are made. So to keep this balance, so that everybody can live peacefully and happily, there are rules and regulations. So same as there are rules and regulations that we have to follow of each country, wherever we are living in. For example, if there's one country has right-hand drive, another has left-hand drive, but I come to Taiwan and I do a right-hand drive, then I will get ticketed. I'll be violating the road laws. But I can't claim that, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know about it. It's my duty to know what is the law before I start driving. So similarly, in this material world, there are rules and regulations of this material nature. But these rules and regulations are for us. They're not for Krishna. They're not for him. As we say that in the prison, when the president visits the prison, he does not become a prisoner. So the rules of the prison apply to the prisoners, not to the president. He's just visiting over there. But what does he do when he comes? What does Krishna do? He follows the rules and regulations. He follows them. He does not unnecessarily try to create a disturbance. Why? Because then we would follow him. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he's the greatest authority. from the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. So when he comes, he acts in a perfect manner as a perfect human being. Although he's not a human being, but because he's taken that form, he acts in that particular role. When he is the king of Dwarka, he was doing his properly organizing his kingdom, protecting his kingdom, giving charity, making sure everything is run in a proper orderly manner. He didn't need to do anything, but he made sure everything's going on properly. That is Krishna. Okay, just see. Okay. So text 24. Utsi deyur imeloka na kuryam karma ched aham shankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam ima prajaha. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Varna Shankara is unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. So Arjuna, in the beginning, he says to Krishna, I will not fight. I will not fight because if I fight, then all the elders of the family will be killed. When the elders of the family are killed, then the women, nobody's there to protect them. They will get polluted. Women will get polluted. There will be other men who will take advantage of them. What will happen with that will give rise to unwanted population, Varna Shankara. And with this unwanted population, the whole society is going to become ruined. There will be no traditions followed. There will be no proper systems followed in the society, and which we can see that in Kali Yuga. That's what is happening. That's exactly what's happening right now in Kali Yuga. So in order to check the social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descends, naturally he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is the Father of all living entities. And if the living entities are misguided, indirectly, the responsibility goes to the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is disregard, general disregard of regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. So whenever the society, there's too much imbalance in the society, people are not following rules and regulation, what does Krishna do? He comes himself, he comes himself. Just like the Father, because he's Father of all the living entities. So he wants us all to be peaceful. He wants us all to be happy. He does not want us to suffer. Krishna never wants us to suffer. So that we can be happy, he comes every time to set a proper balance in society. He comes himself, like he came 500 years ago as Lord Caitanya. Why? To give us the Yuga Dharma, chant the holy name. Chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And right now, he's there in what? He's there as his holy name, as his Archa Vigraha, as his deity. So that we can take advantage of his presence. He's not going to come as any other incarnation in this Kali Yuga, only at the end of Kali Yuga as Kalki. Because in this Kali Yuga, everybody wants to be called as an incarnation of Krishna. You go anywhere, they'll say, oh, I'm an incarnation of God, I'm an incarnation of Krishna. But there is no incarnation right now, according to the revealed scriptures, except the holy name and the deity in the temple, Krishna's deity in the temple. So we should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhan Hill, as the Lord did in his childhood. Yesterday we had the Govardhan Puja to celebrate that Krishna had lifted the Govardhan Hill 5,000 years ago. When he was a 7-year-old boy, he lifted it for 7 days and 7 nights with his left hand, the smallest finger of his left hand. Can we do it? No, we can't. So we should follow his instructions, not imitate Krishna. Many people say, oh, Krishna danced with so many gopis, so I'm going to do the same thing. No, we don't have to imitate Krishna. We can't imitate him. We need to follow his instructions given to us in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instructions, but we may not imitate him at any time. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33, 30 to 31 affirms, Naitat samachare jatu mansapi hi anishvaraha vinashyati acharan maudyad yatha rudro abdi jam visham ishvaranam vacha satyam tathaiva charitam kvachit tesham yatsva vacho yuktam buddhi mamstat samacharet. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his empowered servants. Their instructions are all good for us, and any intelligent person will perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison in imitation of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, when the churning of the ocean happened, the fight between the demigods and the demons, and then they churned the ocean because they wanted the nectar. Before the nectar came, there came this the Kalakutta poison, very deadly poison. That poison was suffocating the entire creation. So Lord Shiva, he said, okay, I will drink it. So can we imitate Lord Shiva to drink poison? No, we can't. We do not have the capability. Similarly, we should not imitate Krishna's pastimes. We should just follow his instructions and the instructions of his pure devotees. We should always consider the position of the Ishwaras, or those who can actually control the movements of the sun and moon, as superior. So the demigods are superior than us. That's the reason they are in charge of the sun and the moon. They are responsible. Krishna told the sun, for example, you rise every time from the east, you set in the west. Now, if the sun god says, suppose Krishna tells us, and we are like, oh, sorry, Krishna, I forgot. I didn't feel like doing. I had a party to attend. I had some other commitment. Why shall I rise from the east? Why not from the west? Why not from the south? Or why not from the west? So that's the reason Krishna does not give us these responsibilities. He gives these responsible positions to the living entities who he knows they are responsible. They will follow these duties properly. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishwaras who are super powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo-devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganja, marijuana, and similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by so imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they are calling death very near. So there are some devotees of Lord Shiva, they say Lord Shiva drank poison, so I can drink ganja and I can have smoke and all these things, other drugs. But this is not really following Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is Mahajan. He's the greatest Vaishnava. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. What are his teachings? His teachings are chant Hari Nam. Who is he meditating on all the time? He's meditating on Krishna. That is how to follow Lord Shiva. Not that, oh, I'm going to take intoxication and I become a follower of Lord Shiva. Similarly, there are some pseudo-devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate the Lord in his Rasa Lila or dance of love forgetting their inability to lift Govardhan hill. It is best, therefore, that one not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow their instructions. Nor should one try to occupy their posts without qualification. There's so many incarnations of God without the power of the Supreme Godhead. So many incarnations of God means they are self-proclaimed that I am an incarnation of God, but they actually have no power. Incarnation of God is not that means they are God themselves, means they should be able to control birth, death, old age, and disease. They should be able to control all others, everything else. But nobody can become God. We can never become God. Krishna is always God. It's not that he became God at any particular point. No, he is God at any given point in time. Eternally, he is God. So we should not imitate. There are certain people who imitate, or they like to condemn Krishna's pastimes, Ras-Lila pastimes, or imitate them. But that's not the way. What we have to do is we have to, if we really want to understand the absolute truth, we need to follow his instructions. Follow what he's saying in the Bhagavad Gita. Is that okay? So let's stop here for today so that we can chant one round. Thank you so much for joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.